a break in between. All right. Okay, so coming to this Azure Data Factory, basically what is this Azure Data Factory? I have told you in the beginning, right? Like ADF is a simple drag and drops. We do not have any coding part. So coming to there, Azure Data Factory is nothing but it is a cloud-based ETL service. ETL, what is this ETL? ETL stands for extract, transform, load. All right, so ETL is nothing but extract, transform, load. So basically Azure Data Factory is nothing but it is a cloud-based integration service. All right, so it is nothing but a cloud-based integration service. So using this, right, we can, using this integration, it is nothing but integration of data between multiple sources. Like if you want to migrate the data, if you want to transform the data or send the data from one location to another location, we can make use of our Azure Data Factory. Okay, it is very simple. If you want to load the data or move the data from one location to another location, then we will make use of our Azure Data Factory. So what is this data factory again? This is nothing but it is a cloud-based integration service. All right, it is a cloud-based integration service, or else you also call it as cloud-based ETL tool. What is this ETL again? Extract, transform, load. All right, so if you want to move the data between your source location to your target location or sync location or destination, we basically make use of our Azure Data Factory. Not only this data transformation from one location to another location, we have different kinds of data movements, data processing. So there are so many kinds of things which are available inside our Azure Data Factory. So just understand that Data Factory is nothing but it is an integration of data between multiple sources. Okay, so using this service, right, it will allow us to move the data from one source to another source. All right, it will allow us to move the data between one source to another source. All right, so it is nothing but it is a cloud-based data integration service, which is basically it is used to compose data storage movements for data processing services. So these all things are available inside our integration. Okay, just understand Data Factory is nothing but it is an ETL tool, cloud-based ETL tool. We also call it as integration tool. Okay, integration service or integration tool, which is basically used to move the data from one location to another location. All right. Let me go to the PPT. So here, if you see what all we have here inside our Azure Data Factory, this is nothing but it is a Azure Cloud ETL service. Okay, so this is nothing but integration ETL related kind of things will be there, right? To extract the data, to transform the data, to load the data, we basically make use of our Azure Data Factory. So this is a simple, GUI, which is very simple, very easy to understand. There is no coding part here. If you can see here, it is a code-free UI. Okay, so anybody can easily make use of this particular data factory, and if you are aware of each and every activity which I'll be telling you in the future sessions, so using those activities you can build your pipelines. All right, so I'll tell you what a pipeline is and everything. Just okay, so here you are able to see this paper presentation PPT, right? So here what do you have? You have one storage location. So till now you are aware of blob storage, data lake storages, those things you have aware, right? Like you are aware of how to create a resource group, how to create a blob storage, how to create a data lake storage. So those storage accounts, right, you will be making use of when you try to build your Azure Data Factory. So inside our Azure Data Factory, we have something called as pipelines. Okay, so what is a pipeline and all, I'll tell you. So for now, just understand that we are trying to integrate it. Integration is nothing but between your source and between your sink. In our Azure, we call it as sink, but you can also call it as target or destination. Okay, if you want to move the data from source to sink, we have something called as, we will make use of something called as pipelines. Okay, so now suppose just assume that you have some CSV file, okay, which is present inside your blob storage, and you want to move this particular file from blob storage to some other SQL server. Okay, some other SQL server, or else you can even assume it as data lake storage, because we are aware of how to create ADLS Gen 2, right? So just assume your source is your blob storage and your destination is your data lake storage. So you have one file and your target is to move this particular file from your blob storage to your data lake generation 2. So how to do that and all will be present inside your data factory. Okay, inside that data factory we have something called as pipelines. So in that we'll be doing. So even before going into that, let me show you how to create our Azure data factory. Okay, in real times you will not be creating it, so just let me show you how to create this particular data factory. Just search for data factory, click on create. Under the free trial version, what was the resource group we had? I had created something called as early morning batch, I assume. Okay, December early morning. So you just browse that and just specify some name, ADF December early morning, some name you can specify. And then so if you see here, this is the one you are able to see, right? Version, this is nothing but the v2 version. So if anybody asks you which version of Azure data factory you are using, you should say that we are using v2, okay, and not v1. Actually v1, you know, that particular v1, right, it was there few years back, and it was it was having some coding and all used to be there. So now that was simplified and you do not have any piece of code inside your v2 version. So if anybody asks you which ADF version are you using, you should say v2 version. All right. So v2 by default should be selected, and then next click on git configuration. This is not needed. We can just just check this box and we can configure it later. And then click on next, next review and create. It will run a final validation. Once the validation is passed, you can just go through what all options you have chosen and then just simply click on create. It is very simple. It is just a one-step process. You will have to specify few names. Once that is done, just click on next, and you can just create it. All right. So that is how basically you will be creating your Azure data factory. So once this data factory service is created, I'll open and show you how the particular Azure data factory portal will look like and what are all the different kinds of actions, activities we have inside that I'll be telling you. So even before, so this is getting deployed, let it get deployed. Even before that, let me quickly tell you what is this Azure data factory. Okay, so just assume that you are having you have just placed your order in your Amazon website. Okay, through Amazon website you have just placed your order, and that order is your source. Suppose you have placed some phone. Okay, you have placed some phone order and you want that particular Amazon web service third party vendor who will be providing the phone, right? So that person will be your source. Okay, and what will be the target? The target would be your home address. Okay, your home address, because you want that particular phone to be sent from that particular Amazon third parties data, warehousing will be there, right? Warehouse where the phone will be stored. So from there you want the phone to be moved to your home. Okay, so from there you want the device to be received by you at your receiving end. So your source will be your Amazon's third party, and your the destination, or else we call it as sync here. So here our target will be our home. Okay, so initially what you'll do, so regarding we'll be having different kinds of specifications, right, for a particular phone. So you'll have these many specifications, this much RAM, so all related data will be there, right? So we have that particular data related information will be there. And then coming to this third party service provider, I've told you, right? So where the phone is present, where that particular data is residing, how to connect to that particular phone. So we'll be having some connection related information also. Okay, something like address and all. So that will be there for your particular source. Similarly, for the sync also we'll be having some data, and then we also have some addresses, right? So where that particular phone needs to be delivered, those delivery address and every detail we should specify, right? So those all details also should be specified. Okay, so for the source part, right, you need your data and you need your connection related information. Similarly, at the target side also you need your data, and this time, right, the data and the particular connection or else address related are related to your particular sync. Okay, or else you even call it as your particular home address. So initially the data and address related information of that particular Amazon's related information will be there, and at the sync also you have something called as your the place you are residing, your home address, and that data related information will be given. Okay, so once you have these informations, you can using this pipeline, here we call it as pipeline, but who will actually perform this data movement from one location to another location? Delivery man, right? So delivery man will be the one who will be responsible to pick your package and then ship it to your respective home. To deliver it right to your home, we have somebody called as delivery man. Okay, so he is responsible for shipping the product which you have placed in Amazon. He will be responsible to get it delivered to your home. After that, what do we have? So there are not only a single delivery man, there will be n number of delivery mans, right? Because there will be not only you are the customer, there might be thousands of customers, like crores of customers will be there. So for everybody, like there will be so many delivery mans will be there, and to manage all these delivery mans, who will be there? A delivery manager will be there, right? There are so different kinds of for different kinds of delivery mans, we have different delivery managers. Okay, so just to try to correlate your particular this source is there, right? You can just understand your source as your blob storage and your target as your data lake storage, or else ADLS gen 2. And then this pipeline is there, right? This pipeline is nothing but your delivery man, okay, who is responsible for doing the data movement, okay, from one location to another location. That is your pipeline. Okay, your delivery man is your pipeline, and then you have delivery manager, right? So we do not have a single delivery man, like we have thousands of delivery mans, right? So for those thousands of delivery mans, we have one delivery manager. So who is that delivery manager? Our Azure Data Factory is our delivery manager. Okay, so inside this person, this particular delivery manager will be supervising the particular delivery man. Okay, so delivery man is nothing but your pipeline. Similarly, inside your data factory, you do not have a single pipeline, but you have many pipelines running. All right, so your intention is to move the data from one location to another location. So if you want to move the data for any particular source, so your source is your blob and your receiver is your SQL server or data lake server. Just suppose you have Gen 2 at the target end. Okay, so here what you'll have, you should have one data set and one linked service. Data set means that particular source related information, and then linked service is there, right? Linked service is nothing but connection related information, something like address of your source. Similarly, we have data set for the target end, and then linked service. Linked service is nothing but connection or address to that particular home. I have said you, right? If you want to deliver it to your home, then that particular home related address will be there, right? So or else that particular delivery man, how will he know from which location to pick up and on to which location to drop that package? He doesn't know, right? So that is why we should provide each and every detail. Okay, so linked service is nothing but your address related information. Data is the data related to that particular phone. Similarly, here the data would be the data particular to that particular phone, and then you have this address related information for your home. Okay, so this is the overview of our Azure Data Factory. So now just understand that instead of your Amazon, we have our source as blob storage. Instead of data lake generation 2, we have instead of our home, we have SQL server or data lake generation 2. Okay, so instead of address, we have something called as a linked service and data set, and at the receiver side also we have something called as linked service and data set. Okay, so here we have, instead of our delivery man, we have our pipeline, and instead of our delivery manager, we have Azure Data Factory. Okay, so end of the day, what is our task? To move the data from one location to another location. So who will do this particular activity? This will be done by our pipeline. Inside our pipeline, we will be making use of different activities. So inside that, one activity is a copy activity, which is basically used to move the data from your source location to your target location. All right, so in which you will be doing it? You will be doing it inside your Azure Data Factory. So were you able to understand till here, guys? The source and the target and the data movement from one location to another location, address related details for the source, address related details for the target, and data related information for the source, data related information for the target. Okay, is it fine till here? I'll explain you in the portal so that it will be better for you to understand. Okay, na? Is it fine till here?
For me, yes, ma'am.
Oh, so I'll explain you in the portal. All right. So I have created this Azure Data Factory service, right? So let me open that. So once you give your Azure Data Factory, I have deployed it just now, right? Just click on this Open Azure Data Factory Studio. So once you open that, a new page will be opened. Inside that page, you can see. So this is where this is the home page of our Azure Data Factory. So here is where you will be performing your development. All right. So in this particular portal, we have home, author, monitor, manage. So these are the three different kinds of tabs we have. Okay, this is the panel, and here we have something called as author tab, right? So even before that, so this is how our home page will look like. Okay, we'll not do anything here. So if you want, you can just click on the link specified here, and then you can learn more about this. This is just a home page. We do not do anything here. We'll directly move to our author tab. So here is where I have told you, right, pipeline. So those pipelines we will be creating. Okay, so this is where we will be implementing any kind of logic or whatever. We'll be building pipelines based on the activities. So everything will be doing it here. Okay, so after that we have something called as a monitor tab. So for the pipelines which you have built, right, you will be able to monitor here. So what is the pipeline? These all things, once once I actually perform one scenario, you will be able to understand it. Okay, it is very simple. Okay, so this thing, right, I'll come back in a while. So here we have different kinds of runs like pipeline runs, trigger runs, integration runtimes. These all are there. Okay, so let me create one scenario and I'll come back to this. After that, you have something called as manage tab. So connection related information, like if you want to create linked service, you can directly create from here. Okay, this is one way of creating. If you want to create a integration runtime, these all, right, you can just create from here also. So even before that, let me go to my pipeline and then show you. So this will be our first scenario. Using this scenario, you will be easily able to understand. Okay, so here, right, let me just write my pipeline name. So I want to copy the data from my blob storage to my ADLS Gento. So let me just name it like this. Okay, so here pipeline underscore copy data from blob storage to Gento storage. Okay, let me minimize this. If you minimize this, it will disappear. All right, so here if you see, right, let me just walk you through what all the different activities we have. Okay, so this white space you are able to see, right, this is nothing but your pipeline canvas. Okay, this is nothing but your pipeline canvas. So whatever activities you want, right, you will be building here. This is your pipeline canvas. And what all are the different kinds of activities we have? So we have basically copy activity, data flow activity, and then append variable, delete, execute pipeline, execute SSIS, fail, get metadata, lookup. Okay, so I'll be covering each and everything. Do not worry. Just go through these, what all we have here. So each and every activity, right, this copy activity is there. So this activity, each and these are called as activities. So each activity has some purpose. Okay, so copy activity is used to copy the data from one location to another location. And then delete activity is there. It is basically used to delete. Okay, so lookup activity, store procedure. So like that, each and every activity has some purpose. Okay, it has some task to do. Similarly, we have filter activity, for each, if, switch, until. We have different kinds of activities here. All right. So basically in our pipeline, we will make use of a simple copy activity. Okay, that will be your first scenario. So inside this particular simple activity, what you'll do, you'll just drag and drop. Okay, so just drag and drop. You do not have any coding part. Internally, this will be converted into coding. You can also see that here. Okay, this will be inside your JSON data, but do not worry about that. You are not going to write any code. You'll just simply drag and drop. All right, so what is this activity here? Again, this is my copy data activity. So what is the purpose of your copy data? Again, it is used to move the data from one location to another location, that is from one source to another sink. In our Azure, we call it as sink and not target or some destination. We call it as sink. Okay, if you want to move the data from source to sink, you can make use of a copy activity. Okay, this is a general tab, will not do anything here. If you want, you can just rename this particular data. Okay, so let me just rename it to blob to gento. Okay, okay, you can just specify some name here. What am I doing? I have just written some name, so whatever name you write, that will be the name of your activity. Okay, coming to the source. So even before that, let me quickly tell you one thing. Okay, so this is my copy data activity. So basically, for every copy data activity, like if you want to move the data from source to sink, okay, so here this is my first task. What is my task? I want to load or move the data. Okay, what is the data? Some data. I want to move this data from my blob storage to data lake generation to storage. Okay, so I want to move from blob to data lake. You are already aware of how to create blob and data lake. Okay, so what I'm trying to do here, I'm just trying to load the data from my blob storage to data lake storage. So what is the data here? Data is my employee data. So I have some CSV file, okay, employee.csv file. So that data I want to move from my blob storage to data lake storage. So in order to move it, which activity you'll be using? You'll be making use of a copy activity. Okay, so for any particular activity, if you want to move, right, so if you have copy activity, if you want to move from one location to another location, then you will have to create. So your source is blob and destination is gento. Okay, so for your source, you will have to create one linked service and one data set. Similarly, for the sink also, you'll have to create one linked service and one data set. Linked service means what? Connection related information will be present. Okay, so since it is at the source side, this linked service will contain blob related connection details, and then this linked service is there, right? This will contain gen2 related information, gen2 related connection information. Similarly, this data set will correspond to your blob storage. This data set will point to your particular generation to storage. Okay, so that is the first thing which you are supposed to understand. So here linked service means what? It is nothing but connection related information. If you want to connect to any particular source or a target, you will need this linked service. Similarly, data set. What is this data set? Data set is nothing but it will have some data related information. Okay, data will be having. Okay, so here let me show you how to perform this particular activity. Source is my blob, destination is my gento. I'm trying to move my emp.csv file. So even before that, let me just open my resource group. What is my resource group again? Anybody? I have created some early morning bulk I have created now. This is my resource group. So I have told you, right, resource group will contain resources, be it a data factory or blob storage or data lake storage, whatever. So let me open my blob storage. Here, let me click on this blob service. Input container. Here I just want to see if the file has been loaded or not. Okay, so I have uploaded one file in the previous session, right? I have uploaded this file. Now my intention is to move this data. Okay, let's see what all information it is having. It is having some 6 records. So now my intention is to move this data from this is residing inside my blob location. Okay, so I want to move it to my data lake generation 2. So that also I have created in the previous session. So let me open that. Arey baba, only 5,000 credits are present. I don't know what people are doing. I'm just opening my data lake generation 2. Okay. So now my intention is to move this particular file from this location to this location. Input container 2021 December 31st. Okay, here I already have files. Okay, let me move it to some other folder. Here, let me move it to here. Okay, so for that, in order to move, right, what is your source? Your source is your blob storage. Okay, so since this is the new ADF, we do not have any particular data set. So firstly, we'll have to create our data set. Let me click on this new data set. For what? Again, blob, because my source is my blob, right? If you see here, for blob you'll have to create a data set and then link the service. Similarly for gen2 you'll have to create a data set and link the service. So let me create my data set. So what is the data set format? Here I have CSV file, right? So let me choose the CSV format, and here just to specify some name. Since I'm trying to create my data set, I'm just specifying ds underscore blog and then linked service. Linked service means what? Connection related information, right? Linked service underscore blog. Let me just create one. So here you do not have to do much. You'll just have to click on this Azure subscription as free trial version. Storage account name as what? Early morning. This was the one which I've created for blob, right? Let me just choose that. And then remember one thing, once you're trying to create your linked service, you will have to test the connection first. Once you test the connection only, you are supposed to create it. Okay. So if it is successful only, then go on create. Do not create it if it is not successful. Since the connection is successful, I can just go and create it. Let me walk you through once again. What am I doing here? I'm just trying to create a linked service for blob storage. So I have just specified ls. Ls stands for linked service. So for understanding purpose, I've just given like this, ls underscore. Okay, so here what all we have again, you do not have to choose anything. Okay, just come to this Azure subscription. Here you can just select this Azure subscription and then click on this free trial version and click on the storage. Since my source is my blob, right? My source is my blob, so I need to have blob related information. This is my blob storage account. So if you are not aware of that, right, you can just go back and then go to your resource group. Inside that resource group, what is your blob name? You can just specify that particular name. Okay, so let me go back to my data factory. So once I specify this free trial version and then storage account name, I can just test the connection. Once it is successful, click on create. That means your linked service is created. All right, my linked service is created. That is fine. Now let me go back to the notepad. Here my linked service is created, but I will have to specify, right, where is this particular file is residing. I should tell to my blob storage, right? So for that, inside your pipeline only, you will specify the path. So what is the input path where my file is present? It is present inside my input container. I have something called as emp.csv file. Okay, so I should just specify the path. Okay, all right. Since it is a CSV file, we have a header option we have, right? Or else let me just, okay, no problem. Let me just uncheck it and then click on none here. Okay, so what you will be doing, you will just specify your data set name and then linked service you will be creating. Since this is the first time I'm creating it, if you have already available, you can just choose that. So since this is for the first time, I have created a linked service. And then you should tell you have to move the data, right? So for the source you will have to tell to pick the file from this location. So that location is nothing but your file path. After that, what do you have? Import schema none. I'll tell you about this later. So for now, just understand. Click on OK. Now my source part is done. Okay, so my source part is done. I have chosen a data set. I have chosen a linked service. Similarly, we should do the same in our sync side also. So you will have to just click on new here. So what is my sync here? My sync is my gen2. Okay, let me click on gen2 continue. So what is the format here? Again, I want the same format. What is the format? CSV format. Let me just choose that and then ds underscore, what is this? gen2, right? So you can just specify that. And one more thing, this is for my sync, right? So for this data lake generation 2, I do not have a linked service created, so I will create a new one. If you go here, you'll just specify ls underscore gen2 and then these all things you do not have to do. You just have to go here and click on Azure subscription, which is your free trial version. What is your storage account name? It is my ADLS gen2 early morning. Okay, just choose that. And here, what am I supposed to do? I shouldn't create it directly. I should first test the connection. Once it is successful, only then I should go and create it. Okay, so here I have not done anything. I have just taken the linked service name. I have just returned the linked service name, and I have chosen this particular free trial version, and I have just given my data lake generation to storage account name. That's it. Tested the connection and then try to create it. So this will make you create your particular linked service. Okay, so now you have created your data set and linked service. Inside the particular data set, right, you should specify in which location you want to store. Suppose you have picked the file from your source location and you want to move it to your sync location. Okay, you have picked the file from this location and you want to move it to gen2 location. So it cannot just go and sit in the air, right? You will have to specify the path. Okay, so you will have to specify on which folder you want to place your output file. Okay, so that information you should specify inside your data set. So let me just go here, input container. This is my gen2 2021 December 31. So here I want my or else let me put it here only, because I already have few files, right? So let me put it somewhere here. Okay, so let me put it inside 2021. So now my file, right, once it is executed successfully, it will be copied from my source location and it will be moved to my this particular path which I have specified. Okay, so no problem, you can just specify anything here. Let me just click on OK. Okay, so this is what you will be basically doing inside your copy data. All right, so if you want to move the data from one location to another location, it is very simple. Go to source, give your data set and linked service, and then go to sync, give your data set and linked service relevant to your particular storage account. Okay, my source is my blob storage, sync is my generation 2. Okay, so I will execute this scenario and I'll show you, and then you will understand. Okay, so even before executing, you will have to click on validate. Validate is something if you have any errors, right? If you have any errors inside your pipeline, using this validation, you will be able to know. Since there are no errors here, that is why no errors are displayed. Let me click on close. And then in order to execute this pipeline, how can you execute it? You can execute it using this debug option. Debug is nothing but execution. So once you click on execute, for this particular pipeline, one run ID will be generated, which will be a unique run ID. Okay, so using this run ID only, if you want to monitor it, you can monitor it. Okay, so just understand that for every pipeline, we will be having something called as a run ID, which will be unique for every pipeline. So if you see here, what is the status? It is telling it took 8 seconds and the status is successful. Okay, so that means let me just open this. Okay, even before that, let me show you. This is the input. Okay, so inside your particular copy data, you have debugged, right? So once you debug, this page will appear. So here you have something called as your input and output. So input is nothing but the input related information will be there. Okay, so what is the blob storage, what is whatever details you have specified, right? So those details will be present. And then coming to the output, here what is the output? If you see here, files read is 1, files return is 1. Okay, so you can either go here or see, or else you have something else called as the pets icon is there, right? Just click on that. Here graphically it will tell you. So my source is my blob storage, sync is my gen2 storage. So I'm able to move the data from one location to another location and the status is successful. If you see here, data read is this much, data return is this much. That means there is no data loss. Okay, number of files, how many files I have copied? 1 file. How many files I have written onto the destination? 1 file. Okay, so blob storage to data lake generation to I'm successfully able to copy. So this is at your normal ADF level. So if you want to see it end to end, what you can do, you'll just have to go to your particular copy data. Sync is there, right? So what is the folder path? If you want it to check, you can just go here, input container 2021. Inside that folder, you should have your, let me go back here. I should have my file emp.csv file copied. See here, the file has been copied. Previously we had only this folder. Now if you see here, 438, okay, 2 minutes back it was copied. Okay, so let us see if all the data has been copied or not. There we had 6 rows, here also we have 6 rows. Okay, so this is how you will be performing your copy data activity. So basically copy data activity is what, if you want to move the data from one location to another location. So one from blob location to your Gentoo location. In our scenario we are moving the data from blob location to data lake generation 2. So initially you will have to create a linked service for your blob, and this linked service will have connection related information. And then data set. So data set is nothing but which kind of format are you choosing. I'm choosing a CSV format. And what is the path where you have this particular file placed inside your blob storage. So that details you should specify here. After that you will have to specify your linked service for your generation 2. You will create the linked service, and after that you will create a data set. So once you create your data set, inside this data set you should tell, okay, I want the file to be moved to my target location. So that path you will have to specify here. Okay, so that is what our copy activity is all about. Let me know if you have any doubts, guys, still here. And then before that we have something called as publish all. Okay, so publish is something like, here we do not have save, here we have something called as a publish. If you publish it, only then the data will be saved. So suppose if you do not publish it, and if you just went outside and then came after some time, if you refresh it, what will happen, the data will be lost. So in order for you to save your data, whatever you have implemented, that shouldn't be lost, right? That is why we have an option called as publish option. Publish or save, both are similar. If you do not save any, if you have written some code, or else if you have written some data inside your word pad, if you do not save, what will happen after some time, if you do not save it and if you unknowingly close it, if you unknowingly discard the changes, what will happen, the data will not be saved, right? So similarly, whatever activities or whatever tasks you are doing, if you want to save it, you will have to click on publish. If you do not click on publish, if you refresh the page, the data will be lost. Okay, so just let me know if you have any doubts, guys. This is the first activity.
And
Anybody, any doubts?
yeah, in this case, we are choosing .csv file. That means, for example, let us take some data from the company, and while copying the data, how we will change the normal Word data or something like to .csv.
Word data.
I mean, yeah.
So here, whatever the formats are there, right, those formats will be supported. So let me just
And do
so
we need to
here not
convert it to
only
the
one particular
.csv?
format we have different kinds of formats.
Hmm.
Like we have CSV file, XML file, sorry, CSV format, JSON format, and then XML format, and then Parquet, Avro, binary. So we have different kinds of formats. So based on the format of data you have, okay, so based on that you'll have to choose your data set appropriately.
So we have only data in those formats, or we'll get some other challenges like any other formats.
So the data should be in these particular formats, and we also have something called as Excel also. So these are the 7 different kinds of formats we have.
Okay.
Okay, so based on the format you have, you will have to choose your data set appropriately.
Okay. And
Okay,
then while doing validation, what will be the major challenges we'll face? For example, if
while
you are
doing this validation,
copying,
here,
yeah, if we are copying
so
more data or something like that, what are
so
the types
yes.
of issues we'll get
So
generate?
one issue could be like, if you are not, suppose here directly I'm just trying to copy one single file. I have directly specified the file name here. Okay. So some of the challenges could be like, if you want to move multiple files, okay, if you want to move multiple files, then you'll have to go with some other options, which I'll be telling you in future sessions. Okay. We have something called as a wildcard path. There we'll have to choose the files appropriately. Like we can choose a wildcard characters like star or star.csv, or whatever files you want to choose, right? So those related information you could specify here.
Okay. And here, if we need to change the data or if we need to edit the data, what will be the process? Do we need to
So
download
if
or
you
we need
want
to
to
create?
go to your edit the data inside your blob,
Yeah. Is there any
so
chance?
yes, so you can go to the portal. Okay, so this is my source. If you want to edit it, you can edit it here. So you can edit it here because this is by default block blob. Okay, if it is your block blob by default, it will be your block blob. If you do not see here, this is your block blob. If you do not specify it, or else if you want to specify it explicitly as append blob, only then you cannot edit it. Okay, if it is your normal default blob, which will be a block blob, you can just directly edit it in the portal itself.
Okay. And is there any size limit for that one? For example, if we
Yes, for
upload the
block.
data.
Yes, so this blob is having limitations, right? So for the number of files you want, like you can only upload till 100 MB. Each file size could be 100 MB, and it shouldn't cross few terabytes of inside that particular blob category, right? It is having some limitations. So based on that limitations only, you can upload the files.
That is like
Whereas
based
that
on the
is in your
storages we choose, right?
that is inside your blob and not in your data lake. Data lake is meant for unlimited storage.
Okay. And if you need to upload access than that one, then we need to create one more file, right?
Sorry, repeat.
I mean, for example, I completely copied the data like unlimited, like for example, for 10 GB, I completed the data. And again, if I have some more data, I need to create the another blob storage, right?
Yes,
Or another file.
yes. So if it is blob, then you'll have to create some other blob or some other something else you'll have to create. Okay.
Okay.
So for one particular blob, there is having some limitation. If you exceed that limitation, it will not allow you to store. So you'll have to create some other directory.
Okay. For example, can we take any other, I mean, next while choosing the container or while choosing the storage, can we
You
take
can create
access?
n number of containers, not an issue. Okay. So if
Mm-hmm.
you see here, this is just my input container. Inside this, I cannot create subdirectories. So if you want, you can also create n number of containers, not an issue. You can directly upload your file here, or else, sorry, you can create any number of containers, not an issue.
Is
So
there
as
is
per whatever amount of data you're storing, for that you will be charged in your real-time projects.
Hmm. And it will be related to the storage thing, like how much storage we are getting.
Yes, so since it is a free trial version, you will
Mm.
be getting, so you can store unlimited data here also, but then you will be having few credits, right? So those credits
Yes.
will be exhausted fastly.
Okay.
If it
Okay.
is in your project, right, you can create, basically admin team will be creating these different folders, containers, and they'll be specifying it to you. So not an issue.
Okay, fine. Thank you very much.
So this is your first activity. Please let me know if anybody else is having any doubts.
And I just want to add one point, ma'am. The the default block will be the
Block.
capacity will be only 5 terabytes, and more than not more than that.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. No, previously while you are giving the answers to
Yes,
that
yes. Inside the
question,
PPT, it is 5 terabytes only.
yeah.
So that is your first simple activity, which is a copy activity. So let me create a new pipeline and let me show you what all are the. So we have seen, right? We have different kinds of activities. So here in today's session, let me see what else we have here.
Little up, ma'am. Scroll up.
So we have done with these two. So now let me show you how to perform a wait activity. Okay. So even before that, let me show you how to do this get metadata activity. Search for get metadata here. Drag and drop it. This is your pipeline. You can, or you, there is no limitation. Like you can have any number of activities. Like you can have like this any number of activities one after the other. Okay. So you can have any number of activities inside your pipeline. So let me tell you about my get metadata activity. Let me just rename the pipeline pl underscore get metadata. If you want, you can rename it here also, and that is for you. If you want to rename your pipeline, you can go here, properties tab, just rename it here. Okay. If you want to rename your activity here inside this, if you want to rename the content, you can also do that. Okay. Let me go to the data set here. So here, what is the data set which I have to choose? So let me just click on a new data set, or else we have created two data sets, right? One for blob, one for gento. You can just choose anything. So let me choose the existing one, blob. So here, this one you can see here, right? Field list. So this is the mandatory field which you'll have to consider. click on new here, and click on the argument you have here, right? So basically what is this get metadata activity? Let me tell you that. Get metadata is nothing but data about data. Okay, it usually consists of metadata information. Okay, consists of metadata information. What is this metadata again? So suppose you have some folder. Okay, so let me click on this properties tab. If you click on this properties tab, what all you have that particular, what is the file name of this, what is the file name, what is the file type, what is the size, how much size is present, when was it last modified. So we have different kinds of arguments, or else we call it as properties, right? So we have different kinds of properties. So this is these all details are nothing but your metadata information. Okay, so this is nothing but your data about data. Metadata is nothing but data about data. That is nothing but you will have different kinds of metadata information, like size you will be having, type you will be having, last modified, child items. So we have different categories inside our get metadata. So I'll be telling you about these. So let me just go back to the portal. Here inside this argument, right, this is the important, mandatory field which you are supposed to fill. Without that you will be getting error when you click on validate. Okay, so this is one of the error. Field list cannot be empty because this is a mandatory field. All right, so let me just scroll up. Here we have different kinds of if you see here, we have different kinds of information. Okay, these are the different metadata information. So here I have something called as item name, item type, last modified, size, structure, exit. So we have different kinds of things. So initially, in order, before going to that, let me open my data set. So in my data set, I am pointing to my emp.csv file. So I will remove it and I'll just point to my container, input container. I'm just pointing to. Okay, so I'm just changing the data set here. Previously it was pointing to a file. Now I am pointing to my container, which is my input container. Let me click on OK. Go back to the pipeline. Here, right, I have something called as child items. Okay, so inside my field list, I'll tell you what this child items is. Let me just click on this child items. Child items is what? So inside my get metadata, inside my data set, I'm pointing to a folder. What is the folder? Input container is a folder. So if you use this child items as a category, if you choose this child items as an argument, right, so child items is nothing but files. Okay, so inside your input container, what all are the different kinds of files or folders are present, those all details you will be able to get it. Okay, using this get metadata, if you want to retrieve those informations which are pointing to your data set, you can get it. So even before that, let me go to my input container. Even before executing, I'll show you what all information we have. So we have append blob, block blob, and these two files. Okay, these two are the files which we have inside our input container, and we have two different directories. So once you just choose your particular category as child items category, then you click on this validate option. No errors. Then let me debug it. So once you execute it, what will happen? Now you will be able to get this information. Okay, so what is the file name, what is the file type, so those information you will be getting. So basically, what is the category I have chosen? Child items, right? Child items are nothing but files. So inside this directory or a container, what all files are present, those will be displayed in the output. Let me show you that. It is still in progress. Okay, successful. This is your input. So if you see in your input, what have you passed inside your field list? I'm passing my child items. Okay, this is in the JSON format. I'll explain you this format later. So for now, just understand that the category which we have chosen is child items. This is the input. What is the output we have retrieved? Output is name and type. Let me maximize it. So here, if you see what all I have append blob, block blob, department.csv, employee.csv. Okay, so these are the different kinds of files which are present inside my folder. See here, append block, two files, append blob, and two files. If you also observe one thing, this is the name. Okay, this is the name and this is the name of the directory. Similarly, this is the name of the directory. And what is it? Is it a file or a folder? This is folder, whereas emp.csv and department.csv are files. Okay, so these two are files, that is why we have type as file. These two are directories, that is why we have type as folder. Clear? So using this get metadata activity, child items is something, if you want to get what all files are present inside a particular directory, you can make use of it using a simple child items category inside your get metadata. Okay, so that is about your child items. Child items will fetch you the files present inside a folder. Okay, so that is first thing. Let me show you something else. Not only that particular category, we have different categories. Last modified. If you click on this last modified, quickly validate it and then debug it.